Hello and welcome to this Tuesday talk. I have my friend Kiley that I'm visiting with on this glorious Tuesday afternoon. Kiley, if you would please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure. I'm Kiley Drog. I'm one of the business performance coaches here at Right at Home. I've been here, it was 2 years, beginning of May, so been with the team a little over 2 years. Prior to that, I worked for another home care franchisor for about 6 years. So love the franchisor space, love working with home care owners. My life prior to that, which is kind of how I got into home care, was I was in banking and had specialized in small business loan financing and learned about home care by underwriting some franchisee purchases. So love the story behind the numbers and love that I get to impact owners on a regular basis instead of just when they want to buy a business. So.
Okay, thank you. And can you, for our audience, describe what a business performance coach does for Right at Home?
Oh, it's a little bit of everything. We are kind of a resource finder at times. We have regular support calls. They look a little different depending upon where the owner is in their journey with Right at Home. Some new owners I might be meeting with every other week and getting text messages, where some very veteran owners I might be meeting with on a quarterly basis. Along with that, I would say sometimes you're therapist, cheerleader, sometimes you're the enforcer of the rules, but really we just try to help walk alongside you and support you as you run your home care business.
Okay, thank you for that. And I have interviewed, I believe, a few coaches. You and I have never visited before on a Tuesday talk. So I'll ask a lot of the same questions that I've asked the others as I've interviewed some of the other coaches. So keep in mind that the audience that's watching this are people who are interested in potentially joining the Right at Home system as a Right at Home franchise owner. So I don't believe I have ever awarded a franchise to someone who says, I just want to be average. I just want to do the bare minimum. I just want to do just, standard, what everybody else is doing. Most people who join the Right at Home system want to go above and beyond and excel and thrive and build an awesome business. So in your opinion, what separates a thriving franchise owner from a franchise owner who is an average performer, let's say? So just in your own opinion, what are some of the differences that you see between the two?
So yes, I work with the gamut of owners from newbies to very long season veterans and those that are engaged or not engaged. I would say engagement with the system, with their peers, with the corporate team makes a big difference. Participating in a performance group is a big difference maker too, I believe, because you get in touch with other like-minded people that are very driven to grow.
Okay, so you said engagement with their peers. What did you mean by that?
So participating in our Takeoff Tuesdays, right, where you can engage and hear from other people across the system, engaging in performance groups. We have other opportunities. I know, like our sales series, you can collaborate with others, not necessarily owners, but there might be some salespeople, but also we have owners that join those calls, and then getting involved with our strategic leadership council too. I think, running for a spot and helping kind of mold and shape what the corporate office does as far as strategic initiatives, I think is really big.
Okay, awesome. And kind of the shifting gears just a little bit, going back to the very beginning, a franchise owner who has just signed their franchise agreement, they've been open for a year or two. Mm-hmm. From what you have seen, what are some of the common challenges that a franchise owner might face in their first year or two of having their business open and operating? And how do those thriving franchise owners overcome those challenges?
I think some challenges are when you first start out, there's a few people doing all the things, right? Like you haven't had time to scale it, to have the exact positions to handle each facet of the business. So I think the multitasking and juggling can really become a source of frustration, or you miss doing something because you're such a small shop that you're busy putting out the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing I've seen. And I think helping kind of overcome that is having regular coaching calls, because we will help you prioritize, look at, hey, where's your business financially for what's your next goal to get, so you can hire that outside salesperson, or you can hire that client care manager to help kind of divvy out the work so you can lead and manage and not do.
Okay, awesome. I'm so glad that you said that, because quite often between myself and our two development directors that are working with prospective franchise owners, quite often we tell them, when you join Right at Home, we're going to teach you, we're going to train you, we're going to coach you how to do almost every area of this business, which there's lots of different things to learn, right? But you as the franchise owner are one person. Of course, you need to know every area of this business, but you can't do all of those things because you're one person. You'll go crazy. So the coaching staff are wonderful partners to our franchise owners to help them with, okay, yep, you need to know how to do all of those things, but let's work together on how to best manage each area of the business. With you being the franchise owner and hiring those the first key employees, what are they going to do? What are you going to do? Strengths and weaknesses. What is the best role for a franchise owner? And then something else that you said, as the business grows, your role as a franchise owner and what you were doing when you first started your business is going to look very different a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later. So another thing that the coaching staff does is help you with your business as it scales, as it grows, as your role as a franchise owner changes, as the different roles of the staff members evolve over time. That's something that you and the coaching staff are all really wonderful with our franchise owners, to help them as they grow in their business. And things don't just stay the same once you open your business. That's not, you're not going to be doing the same thing a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, most definitely not 10 years later, right? Wouldn't you agree?
That's our goal, right? Yes, that's the goal.
Okay, so when people join the Right at Home system, well, when people are wanting to purchase a business, they have a choice to go with a franchised concept or a non-franchised concept. So, of course, you and I, we're partial because we work for a franchise system. It's a little terrifying to me to think about starting up a business like this from scratch, right? Mm-hmm. But can you provide some insight to our listeners on how much, because when you sign a Right at Home franchise agreement, it's your business. You are officially a business owner, but under a franchise agreement. So some people have concerns about, like, oh gosh, they're going to tell me what to do. I'm not going to be able to make any choices, make any decisions or have choices on things. So can you describe kind of that aspect of a new franchise owner joining Right at Home and new to franchising? Mm-hmm. How much say do they have in how their business is run versus kind of that fear that people have that, like, oh gosh, when I join a franchise system, they're just going to tell me what to do and I'm just going to do it?
Yeah. I know home care specifically. So, you think about what it would be like to be a part of a franchise. The only vendor we require is our operational system, right? Otherwise, you have choice. You have choice who your bookkeeper is. You have choice if you want to, have a recruiter come help you hire. You have choice if you want to have like an offshore person come help do admin stuff. Like, we don't have a lot of requirements. You do get to, we'll lead you to the best practices and develop a lot of good tools. Yeah. But really, it's up to you to take advantage and follow the plan, follow the model, which we find that those that are most successful are following that model. But I even think about the daunting task of like HR and hiring and all of the rules and regulations. Like, we have a great resource that costs nothing for owners to utilize, and they can utilize it as much as they want. So, there are a lot of benefits to partnering with someone like us.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. All right. So, you as a coach, how often do you meet with your franchise owners? And if you could, because I know every time that you meet with a franchise owner, you've got regular coaching sessions. So just describe kind of that frequency of how often you meet with our franchise owners. Now, if you can, what does a typical coaching call or coaching visit look like?
Yeah. So we are tasked with being with franchise owners, whether it's at a performance group meeting or in their office or maybe at a state level meeting or regional meeting. We are tasked with traveling and having 24 touch points a year. So that might look like a performance group with 8 or 9 of your peers for almost 2 days somewhere in the country twice a year, right? And having that quarterly touch point. A site visit would probably be about a full day in an office where we have an agenda that basically goes from the beginning, the caregiver side of the business, all the way down to your financials and marketing and everything in between, maybe succession planning. We would spend time in your office going through the things that are most important to you. Sometimes I would go in and I would interview just office staff, right? And kind of help guide them and see what resources maybe they're missing. But that can be one facet of what it would look like to engage with your coach. Otherwise, I do, like I said, newer owners, I'll meet with every other week via Zoom, always available via cell phone or text, but also as they grow in their journey with Right at Home, it might be a monthly call or an every other month call where we set aside 45 minutes to be very intentional and work on, hey, how are things going in your business? What are the numbers trending? How are we looking compared to the goals you've set for the year? And then kind of whatever other things they need to talk about or other big initiatives that we need to educate owners about that's coming from the corporate office.
Okay, so that's a great segue into my next question.
Okay.
Brand new owners and the strategic business plan. So if you would describe to our listeners what I mean by a strategic business plan. When is that established? How often do you look at that? Is it something that okay, we just document it, we never look at it again? So how do you use that plan? How is it formed? How do you work with franchise owners on putting that together? Everything that's in there and how often you use that and measure against it.
So I would say with a new owner, one of the first tabs we look at is the break-even analysis tab to kind of see, hey, what are your fixed expenses? How much are you paying? How much are you charging? And kind of get it in line to see, okay, what's the hourly, the weekly number you need in hours to break even? And then we'll go back and reference that every time we have a big expense we want to add. I want to add a salesperson. Okay, let's plug in what that number looks like and see what your hours need to grow to cover that cost. So that is a tab that we would go back to. I mean, depending on what it is, it could be quite often. Yep. Also and there are a lot of tabs in this workbook. It can be a little daunting. So I always say, let's just focus on a few. The other one would be your quarterly KPIs. What's your goal for revenue? What's your goal for hours? And then that will tell us what you need to grow in net caregivers and net clients to achieve those goals. So we'll work on that and then reflect back on it every quarter and make an adjustment if needed. And then also we use the financials in that KPI report as well and look at hey, are you hitting your target? Are you following the home care model for how much you're spending in each segment of your business? And we'll track that on a quarterly basis as well.
I love it. That's what an awesome tool that we provide to franchise owners, new franchise owners. And just in case somebody asks the question, because we get it quite often on the franchise development team, how long does it take a franchise owner to break even? And my answer always is, it varies, or it depends, right? Yes. And and I'm not saying that just to be, cheeky. It's because it's the actual truth. It's really tough for us to say it's X amount of time. Because every franchise owner is different, every business is different, every plan is different. There's so many variables that it just varies so much from one owner to the next. It's tough to nail down a specific average time frame. So I did want to mention that because once you become a Right at Home franchise owner, you put together this strategic business plan with your coach, you're going to put together this workbook and this specific tab sheet, if you will. That gives you an idea of when that may be based off of all of the different criteria that you're going to put in there. So that's something we certainly work on with you when you become a new franchise owner and watch it and track it and measure it. along with a lot of other metrics in your business. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yep.
What would you say? I know that you said a franchise owner who is highly engaged is a franchise owner that really thrives. What other qualities or traits do you see in a franchise owner? And try to think about brand new franchise owners, somebody who's been open for a year. In addition to being highly engaged with a franchisor, what are some other things that you see franchise owners like that do that really thrive in their first year of business?
I think people being curious, right? Like asking questions is a key to success. I think those that are open to feedback and like trying to do better, right? Versus like, this is the way I'm going to do it. And I think, again, following that model, like making sure that they follow the best practices we have out there. We've got 30 years of home care experience, right? Like we know what we're talking about, and we create these great guides for people to use. So I think being open to using those and just sticking with the plan helps make them successful.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that. And I had another question here. Let's see here. Okay, let's talk about performance groups again, because you've mentioned performance groups a couple of times. Can somebody who just signed a franchise agreement last week, can they join a performance group this week?
Not yet.
So when can they, Kiley?
So kind of the hard rule is 1 year, and we do have a prerequisite that they go through kind of a financial learning that can take, I think, when I did it, it was kind of on the side of my desk. It took about a week. But you have to really be ready to financially be able to travel somewhere for a meeting, because we do travel twice a year, and also be able to leave your office and know that your team can handle it for a few days. Like, I think that's just as important as that 1 year mark. Like, but if you can't stay in a meeting for 8 hours a day without like some breaks to check in, like your team is not ready for you to leave to participate in a performance group.
Got it. Okay. So what is some of the people who are in a performance group, what is some of the homework that they have to do or things that they have to provide to their performance group facilitator before they can attend their meeting? Because that's relevant to also being in the system for at least a year before you can join a performance group.
Yep.
Go ahead.
The pre-work. So each facilitator will work with, for me anyway, I work with 2 people in the respective group to help set the agenda for our meeting. And with that, we have a PowerPoint. So then owners will have to, report on their goals, report on, hey, these were the 4 things I said in my last meeting I'm going to work on. Here's the status of those now at the next meeting. So we do a lot of, so it's not hard work, right? Like it's preparing that template, it's reporting your numbers. Right now, we have it set up where you go in and verify that what we've pulled on the back end matches your records, and you can and we have a few numbers they have to put in. But really, it's not a ton of work. And it's also thinking about, hey, we're going to have time to talk about a bright idea. What's something that I've implemented in my office that's going really well? And we also take time for each owner to separately talk about what's keeping you up at night, what's a threat to your business or a burning issue. And so we take time during that meeting to problem solve, listen, give suggestions. But some of that takes some preparation too, right, to get ready and really, because you want to bring something that's very, meaningful that will help you in your business be prepared and ready to speak on that topic.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And in my experience, just attending performance groups and watching and learning, the franchise owners hold each other accountable. So for you as a new franchise owner, you've been in the system for at least a year, you do your pre-work, you go there, and you are about to basically open up your books to these fellow franchise owners who are part of your performance group. And they're doing the same. So you'll have insight into their books and the status of their business. And they will do the same with your business. So it's meaningful for you to have at least a year's worth of financials to report on to the group, instead of like, hey, I just signed my franchise agreement, 6 months ago, and we've been open for 2 weeks, so I really don't have much to offer here. So the intent being, when you join a performance group, you are ready to be held accountable to, here's some challenges that I'm facing. Hey guys, what do you think? And then it's rapid fire from the franchise owners in the room to say, that's happened to me before, and this is what I did, and here's my recommendation. And that's not something that you can just sit on. You need to act on it right away. And we're looking forward to you reporting next quarter on how it went. So really, really holding each other accountable to those action items and following up and really kind of putting it all out there. And franchise owners who are in performance groups versus franchise owners that are not in performance groups, and Kylie, you said this earlier, tend to outperform the franchise owners that are not in a performance group. So we always recommend that you join a performance group. And it's not as simple as like, okay, I want to be in a performance group. Okay, we put you in this one. It's a bit of a selection process. Can you kind of describe what that process looks like, Kylie?
Yeah, it's a little bit like matchmaking, but not quite to the extent of finding a new boyfriend or girlfriend. But really, it is like looking at what kind of business do you have? Like, are you multi-territory? Are you single territory? Sometimes like revenue size, like it doesn't always have to match up perfectly, but you want to be in a group of peers, right? Where you're all kind of working on the same things. You have similar challenges. So it is a little, and also like personality fit too, right? So we kind of try to assess what would be the best group for you, and have you kind of interview, if you would, with that prospective group. And the owner, you know, the group has to extend an invitation and the owner has to say, yes, I want to join this group. So there is choice involved in it for sure.
Okay, perfect. Kind of going to shift gears just a little bit. Something that I said earlier that I do, or that you said earlier that I do want to clarify. So you mentioned that you work with, new franchise owners, franchise owners that are 5 years, 10 years, tenured, 20, 25 years in our system. When somebody joins, when somebody opens their business, so they've signed their franchise agreement, they've just opened their office, they've been open just a couple weeks, couple of months, would you be their coach, or they start with somebody else and they would transition to you?
Yeah, great question. So we have a program called the Right Start program, and we have 2 Right Start managers who really are a part of the coaching team that will work with those that start a brand new from scratch, or those that might be a resale purchase. But the coach they will end up getting, which we all are assigned different states, which is kind of how if you're a newbie, how you would end up being with me or one of the other coaches. But we would start to come on those calls that the new owner would have with our Right Start managers, so they can get used to us, we can get used to them, and help create a smoother like transition from the Right Start program to your regular old coach.
Yes. Okay. And the time frame varies. So somebody who just opened their business, that Right Start manager stays with you from the moment you sign your franchise agreement to then now your office is open, and then that Right Start manager will stay with you after your business has opened, just so there is that seamless transition from, okay, my Right Start manager has helped me since I've signed my franchise agreement. Now my business is open. Now it's going to be in operations. But we want you to get to a certain point, whether that's hours or revenue, whatever KPIs we put in place. We want you to get to a certain point before you transition to your full-time coach, like Kylie. So it will vary. There isn't a specific you stay with your Right Start manager for exactly 6 weeks and then you transition to a coach. Each franchise owner is different based off of several different factors, which we will make very clear to you once you become a franchise owner and when that transition from the Right Start manager to the coach would take place. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Yep. But us coaches will get involved probably, 2 months before that transition happens, and we'll start hopping on calls with the Right Start manager and the owner.
Okay. Kylie, what would you say is the most favorite thing about your job? Like what makes you love what you do and working with franchise owners?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I guess I love when I see them achieve their goals, right? Like I think about an office that I work with that they hit 3,000 hours before the pandemic and had not been able to get back up to it. So they took time, they really educated their team, and just kind of watching and helping and guide them along the way to see them now hitting over 3,600 hours a week. Like that to me is very rewarding. Or I love one of the newer owners I've been working with. When we talk about sales visits and getting out in the market, she actually smiles now, where before, that was not her thing she wanted to do. So seeing the progress that she's made just really is very rewarding for me and just makes me smile too. So
Yes. Yes. And I asked, sorry, that was kind of a curveball question. I told you, I'm like, hey, Kylie, I'm not going to ask you any curveball questions, but you were like, oh, geez, that's a hard one. Not hard to answer. I'm sure you were just thinking of like, well, there's lots of things about my job that I love. But I asked that for a reason because our mission is to improve the quality of life for those we serve. That is our franchise owners improving quality of life of the clients they're providing services to, the caregivers that they employ, the family members of the clients that they're providing services to, as well as lots of different audiences and people that they influence. Us here at Right at Home Corporate, it's the same applies. So I asked you that for a reason because very similar to the other coaches that I've interviewed, it brings joy in your life to watch our franchise owners really thrive. Mm-hmm. And that's what you do on a day-to-day basis. So we are very fortunate to have you and the other coaches that we have because you guys work so hard with our franchise owners to help them build those sustainable, profitable businesses. That's what you do every single day. So it's very rewarding to see when things work and franchise owners are happy and when you can put a smile on someone's face. So thank you for all that you do to help and support our franchisees and especially the new ones that we work with that are listening right now and kind of what to expect in their journey as a Right at Home franchise owner. So we only have a couple minutes left. I always ask this question: is there anything that we have not discussed in the past 30 minutes that you would like to bring up to our audience?
Great question.
Or a piece of advice you want to give to somebody who's thinking about joining Right at Home?
Yeah, I guess I would say, like, I've seen a franchise where the franchisor or franchisee relationship isn't that great. And I think here we have a very healthy back and forth relationship. So I would say if you're looking for somewhere where your thoughts and opinions are valued, we are a good partner for you.
Yes. Okay, great. And I'm going to add on top of that, we are not the type of franchisor, and especially the coaching staff, that's just going to tell you what you want to hear, right? You are a new business owner. We're going to tell you exactly what we feel. If you said earlier, we've been in business for 30 years. We've been franchising for 25 years. We've seen it all before. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we get new things that are thrown our way. But most of the time we've seen it before. We've dealt with it before. And so we've got all of this experience and all of this historical knowledge that we're ready to share with you. So when you're facing a challenge as a franchise owner, you want our opinion or our guidance, that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're not the type of franchisor that's just going to tell you what you want to hear. And hey, everything is great. Hey, here are several things that you can do to improve your business. That's definitely the type of franchisor that we are. So perfect. Thank you so much, Kylie, for taking the time to visit with me today. It was awesome. Let's do it again sometime soon. I appreciate you, and I know that our listeners do as well. So thank you. Okay, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.